It saves you money. It means all the work falls on you. Let's clear up some misconceptions about breastfeeding. Okay, number one, breastfeeding is harder than bottle feeding, whether that's formula or pump milk. I'm more so talking formula. Pumping is its own category. If you're a pumper, you're a champ. But let's just say breastfeeding over formula feeding. Is breastfeeding more work than formula feeding? I would actually argue it's not. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, especially when it comes to breastfeeding. But as someone who breastfed, I never had to wash bottles. It's a lot of bottle washing if you do formula. I never had to worry about measuring out ounces. Like, are they ready to go from 4 ounces to 5 ounces? Or do we like space out the feedings more or bring them closer together? Do we do just keep upping it? Are they getting too much? They spit up a lot that time. I let my body do the work, and I never knew how many ounces my baby was eating. And I noticed some people that's stressful, but I trusted my body. I saw my baby growing, and I kind of just like believed in the process and believed in myself on that. And I didn't have to worry about ounces and figuring that out each and every day and each and every month as they grew. Packing the diaper bag. Okay, I didn't have to pack bottles, formula, pre-mix it, not pre-mix it, have water on hand, get it to the right temperature. You know what I packed? Me, my baby, and a burp cloth, which you would need anyway. And then I was a nursing cover mama, so I threw that in as well. And honestly, that's it. So a nursing cover was my item I needed to feed my baby out in public and on the go. And along with that, packing the diaper bag. Traveling, outings, plans. Say we were flying. We didn't fly with either of our babies when I was breastfeeding, but if I needed to, getting on an airplane with just my boobs would have been a lot easier than formula, bottles, water, and just worrying about that, or worrying about pumped breast milk, because that could be a nightmare as well. When it came to just simple outings, say I was like, oh, I need to run a few errands. I didn't have to think, am I going to need 1 bottle or 2 bottles? I, again, had the milk with me, ready at the right temp. So I didn't have to plan ahead for outings or like plan my whole day. Say it was a larger outing like the zoo or something, like, okay, how many bottles do you think we're going to need? Should we pack extra? And just worrying about getting through the day. I'm sure you can find reasons that breastfeeding is harder, but those are some examples of how I found breastfeeding to be a little bit easier or less work. The second point I want to make is that your husband can't or won't help because you are breastfeeding. So I'm just going to start this off kind of spicy. If your husband will not help with the baby because you are breastfeeding, you have the wrong husband, because that is a very lame excuse to think that you cannot help with the baby. There are plenty of things you can do outside of breastfeeding your baby. And if you think because as the woman that you're breastfeeding, all of it falls on you, you need to have better expectations for your man and allow them to do work. Do not take it all upon yourself. So I breastfed both of our babies nearly exclusively. I would say nearly because there was a couple instances here and there. But I mean, 99% of the time, it was directly off me, very little bottles, okay? My husband helped out a ton. He did bath time. After the first couple of baths with our newborn, I of course wanted to help when they were itty bitty. He took over. He did bath time. That was my break. Baby could not ask me to nurse them. I was free for about 20 minutes. And sometimes I would go grab a shower, or I would just sit down and just be alone for a minute. He did bath time, and I appreciated that so much. He helped out with late nights and early mornings. So it's all a blur, to be honest, because that newborn phase, man, you don't remember anything. But there were times where I would say feed the baby at like 8 p.m. I'd go to bed. I'd start sleeping, and he would stay up till maybe like 11. And he would try to put them down between 9 and 10. And if it just wasn't working, he would hold them till 11. Around then, come in, wake me up and be like, hey, they need to eat. And then he would go to bed at, say, 11. I would get up, nurse, and I would be on baby duty. And I'd be on through the night because I'm the nursing mama, and he went back to work. That was all good and fair. But then in the morning, say I fed them at like 5 in the morning, and he knew that, he would get up with them, say at 6 o'clock they were crying. He'd get up with them and hang out from like 6 to 7 and let me again sleep till that like 7. So I was getting a little extra sleep on the like front end and the back end of the night. That was so helpful. He would, if the baby was hungry, bring the baby to me, obviously. But if I had just fed the baby, he would burp them, change their diaper, occupy them. So the way I look at that is I got a longer amount of sleep, but very cruddy sleep, honestly. Lots of breaks because I was waking up. And he got a slightly shorter sleep window, but his sleep was more quality sleep. He was not getting up with baby during those middle hours. So that's how we made it work. Other ways that he helped. Once they got older and they could ride in the seat that we have attached to his bike, he would take them on bike rides. And I stayed home. After being with the baby full time, it was nice to have that little bit of break. And again, this was once they were strong enough to ride in the bike seat, of course. Other things that he would do was occasionally take them out on errands. Now, I ran most of the errands. That's just how it is in our household. But if there was something he needed to run out and grab or do, he would often volunteer to take them with him. He'd be like, I'll take them. He was at work all day. He wanted to spend some time with them and give me that break. There are plenty of things your husband can do for you. I actually have another video kind of related to this about how dad can support and help a newly breastfeeding mom. And it goes into some strategies of what dads can actually give to the situation and how they can still participate. And another one of those points is, dad, you might not be able to care for the child all the time. That might be mom's job, but guess what your job is? Caring for mom. You care for mom, mom can care for baby, because mom's not caring for herself. She's so worried about that baby. So a misconception about breastfeeding is that dad cannot help out. That's a huge one. Okay, so I've heard this misconception go both ways. Breastfeeding saves you money. And then I've also heard it the other way, where breastfeeding does not save you money. Breastfeeding can save you money if you are a minimalist. Okay, if you buy every breastfeeding accessory item, you are not going to save money. You might as well just go formula if that's your reasoning. When it comes to breastfeeding, I have a whole nother video on breastfeeding supplies. I can link that as well. But you can buy nursing pads for in your bra, your nursing bra. So you got nursing bra, nursing pads, a nipple balm. I highly recommend that one. That would be the number one item I would recommend. Nursing cover. If you do any pumping, you have a pump. You might have the Haka. Milk bags to store the milk in. Let's see. Then there's different cooling pads. There's silverettes. There is, oh gosh, there's these milk savers, kind of catchers. There are so many things. Don't buy them all. That's the trick. Buy what you need for your specific breastfeeding journey. Do not buy them all. Oh, I forgot a huge one, nursing pillow. I lived without a nursing pillow. Both my babies made it to about 14, 15 months. I used a pillow off our guest bed, and then they got strong enough that we didn't need the nursing pillow. Don't have to have everything that you think you have to have, okay? In general, breastfeeding can save you money if you do it in a thrifty and minimalistic manner. My fourth misconception is that breastfeeding means you're going to be up all night and you're co-sleeping. False. I have never co-slept with my babies. They have never slept in our bed. I sometimes slept in their bedroom, but I slept in a bed and they slept in the crib. I am not a fan of co-sleeping. It is not my jam, but I love breastfeeding, and I'm a attached mom in a breastfeeding situation, not the sleeping. You can differentiate. You can take what you want to take. And I was not up all night. Honestly, I tried to have my babies do about 3-hour stretches when I could. And a lot of newborns and just young babies, at night, they'll do 1 5-hour stretch. It might not happen immediately, but usually at one point during the night, you get a long stretch. That's golden, let me tell you. If you can get to that, you're great. And that might be midnight to 5 a.m. It might be 10 o'clock to 3, whatever it is. And it might not be 5 full hours, but usually you get one decent stretch. That is the goal. And another thing I want to say with the night and co-sleeping is I felt directly nursing my babies made nighttime feedings better, because I wasn't fumbling around making or warming up a bottle. I wasn't running to the kitchen, turning on a light, getting the baby, or letting the baby cry. Whether I was in our room at the time, because maybe we were separate depending on their age, or if I was in their room with them, I got to them like that. Our house is not that big. Either I was in the room and it was a whole 3 steps, or I was across the house and it was all of 20, 25 steps. We don't have a large house. I got to them, beelined, immediately got them nursing, and I would give them a quick burp. Usually I got one good burp out and I put them back down and they went back to bed and they barely had a chance to wake up. It was so great. When they were really little, I did change diapers too, but I don't really remember. It's a blur, honestly. So much of it's a blur. It's kind of crazy. But my point being, I felt like direct nursing actually made nighttime feedings better. Now, did my husband help? No, he did not. Because I breastfed, it was all on me, but I was on maternity leave and then I did go back to work, but my work was only part-time. So for us, it made sense that I was the one not sleeping as much. It did not make sense for him. He worked full-time. Pretty much the day I got back from the hospital, that next day he was back to work. It made sense for him to sleep and not me. And I was okay with that. I knew what I signed up for, and he was obviously okay with that as well. Now, I do want to say breastfeeding is not all daisies and sunshine. I am presenting some of the positives probably about these misconceptions. If you do want to hear some of the downsides to breastfeeding, I'm happy to share those, and I will link a video coming up on the screen now and in the description. It is in my opinion, 5 best and worst parts of breastfeeding. So check that out. Have a wonderful day.